Hey Eiyo.
I guess the most pressing issue of the time on June 22nd, the United States entered a conflict with between Iran and Israel, as they bombed three nuclear sites in Iran, and because of that, there was a lot of talk about the potential for nuclear annihilation and broader escalation of the conflict. I just want to get your overall assessment given like the recent escalation. I know that medyo nag-tone down for a bit now. It's been about a week since that happened. But ultimately, I want to get your initial assessment of the conflict between the US, Iran, and Israel. What do
Yeah.
you, how, I mean, where are we now, and what do you foresee moving forward?
Well, as you noted, there's been a noticeable, I won't say de-escalation of the situation, right? But
Okay.
definitely the level of tension, no, and actual conflict, no, has lessened, no, from
Mm.
the days before the attack on Fordo and the other Iran nuclear sites, no. But I think right now the issue of the conflict actually escalating is still there,
Mm-hmm.
right? You still
Yes.
hear President Donald Trump actually saying, no, that if it comes to that, no, another attack can actually come, right,
Mm-hmm.
from the United States. In other words, it's a situation that I think he has not completely erased, no, as a possibility, no.
Kumbaga hindi
Um,
pa siya set in stone.
Hindi pa eh. Parang I think ang isang ano niya is that Iran must now negotiate, right?
Yes.
And
Oo.
negotiations here is all about really reducing,
Mm-hmm.
excuse lang really reducing the or at least getting a commitment from Iran that it is not going to proceed, no, with its enrichment programs, no.
Yes.
So yun yung pinaka issue ngayon. In fact, a CNN analyst, no, was noting that Donald Trump has actually moved his position as far as this issue of enrichment, no,
Mm-hmm.
from a point where he was saying that enrichment for peaceful use of nuclear power, no, or nuclear energy is okay,
Yes.
no.
Mm-hmm.
Israel has basically said no, no. It's absolutely good. It's an absolute position, no, for Israel that Iran should never have that kind of should never be allowed, no, that kind of leeway as far as enrichment capabilities are concerned, no. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so kung if we're going to look at that, no, one of the things that has been noted is that um, uh, uh, President Trump has actually moved closer to the position of of Israel, no,
Isa.
where the idea now is no, is Iran should not have any enrichment capabilities at all, no. So
Mm-mm.
even to a level where enriched uranium or nuclear material, no, for peaceful purposes is something that's now out of something that is being demanded, no, that is that Iran actually do away with, no. So the interesting thing here is that Iran has not made any commitments along those lines, but there have been noises to the effect that Iran seems to be prepared to now talk, right?
Mm. Okay.
But again, what's interesting is that in public, no, we're not hearing those noises, right?
Oh.
Iran is threatening to punish, no. Donald Trump is still threatening to go a second time around, no,
Yes.
with the bombings, no. And clearly, Israel is more than happy if the United States would be would continue to degrade, no, as they use the term, no, to
Yes.
degrade Iran's capacity to develop nuclear capability, no, whether for peaceful or for military purposes, no.
Yes.
So all of these things just show that that while tensions have actually been reduced, no,
Mm-hmm.
or at least conflict, the level of conflict has actually been reduced, no, the degree to which there are tensions, no, and the
Mm-hmm.
danger that these tensions can escalate is still there, right?
Oo.
And then let's not remove the let's not remove other factors in the picture, right? You
Mm-hmm.
still have the issue of Gaza, no,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
the case of the Palestinians, no, which of course has been catching the attention of the world, no. But more importantly, I think, no, it's a question of how um, countries that are actually friendly to the United States in the region, aside from Israel, no?
Okay.
We're talking about Arab states like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, no? How are they looking at this particular development as far as Iran is
Interesting.
concerned,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes.
One of the things that we know as far as Middle East geopolitics is concerned, no, is that Saudi Arabia and Iran have been at loggerheads.
Yes.
No? They've been
They
competing,
hate each
right?
other.
We've been competing for dominance, for influence, no?
Yes.
Like the Houthis, for instance, in Yemen, no, are actually being attacked by the Saudis, no, are being support on the other hand being supported by
By
Iran,
Iran. Yep,
right?
yep.
So you have that dynamic, no?
Oo,
And
tama.
you'd expect that countries that are actually aligned with Saudi Arabia on this, no,
Mm-hmm.
would
Yep.
probably be welcoming the attacks, no, against Iran.
Iran. Oo.
However, no, on the other hand, I think there's also an aspect to all these developments, no, where they're concerned about the degree to which that kind of decision making on the part of the United States is purely
Oo.
unilateral, right?
Mm-hmm.
To bomb Iran, no, and it seems to them at the behest of Israel, right?
Oo,
So
yes.
parang
Oo.
para sa kanila, I mean, kung isa ako dito sa mga bansa na ito, I'd be concerned. E paano kung Israel hindi matuwa sa akin? No?
Mm-mm.
Can stick
Yes.
the United States on me. Now, of course, that's an exaggeration. But
Oo.
I think behind all of these developments, no, the Arab countries, no, the Arab governments must be concerned, right,
Mm-hmm.
about the degree to which Israel can seem to the degree of influence that Israel seems to have over President Trump, no?
Yes. Yep, yep.
Personally speaking, right? Yung
Oo.
pinakano doon. It's not so much
Yes.
the United States but Donald Trump himself, right?
Yes.
Because
Yep, yep.
past administrations, no, outside of the presidencies, no, of Donald Trump, no, have always been have tended to be very careful, right,
Mm-hmm.
about the relations with Israel, no, and
Yes.
how they actually deal with them. So kumbaga ang ano ng US in the past has always been okay. If you dare attack us, we'll hit you, right? Parang ganon yung ano doon, no? But now Israel has conducted a military operation against the Palestinians, no, which has been going on for months, no, and where they've opened themselves up to the accusation that they're committing genocide, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and now you have this situation as far as Iran is actually concerned. Now,
Yes.
part of the question that you were asking about was ano ang possibility that this will slide into something even bigger, right?
Yes.
Yung
Yep.
isang ano doon, no? Um, I don't think that it's an inevitable thing. No, there have been talks about World War III happening, right?
Oo. Yes.
But honestly speaking, if you really think about it, no, the United States, I think, is worried about the idea of putting boots on the ground, no,
Mm-hmm.
in a conflict in the Middle East after the experiences, no, with Iraq, no, and
Yes.
Afghanistan, right? So
Oo.
hindi ganon kadali yung decision na yun, as far as the US is concerned.
And if
On the other,
anything,
at the same time, if you think about it, Russia
oo.
is still involved in Ukraine,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
So it's not in a position. I mean, if you really think about it, it wasn't able to support the Syrian presidency of Assad, right?
Yes.
So it collapsed, no? Wala silang nagawa doon sa sitwasyon na yon, no? So in other words, Russia is distracted on its own, with its own geopolitical context, no?
Mhm.
Um, mukhang walang kasi parang ang ano nito is there's this tendency to think that a Russia-China Iran axis, no, is challenging US dominance, no, and the kind of world order that the United States actually supports right now.
Mhm.
So is that going to slide into something bigger? Right now, everybody's too distracted. No?
Yes. Yep. Yep. Yep.
The only one who's not, to a certain extent, no, is China.
Mhm.
No? But China is dealing with its own economic issues right now.
Yep. Yep.
So I'm not, honestly speaking, I'm not, while I'm concerned about what's happening, I'm
Mhm.
not really thinking that this is an inevitable slide into something that's bigger and that World War III is just around the corner. No,
Oo.
I think the situation is a little bit more complex than that. But clearly, one of the things that we have to recognize is that everybody's actually dealing with their own distractions, if you will. No,
Mhm.
and um, and I'm almost certain nobody's interested, no, into escalating this whole situation. If
Really.
anything, the only country that I see who might be interested in the conflict actually continuing to a certain extent, no, might be Israel, right? But Israel is also interested in making sure that whatever conflict, no, or however the current conflict in the Middle East actually proceeds, no, that it will be within manageable levels,
Yes.
right? So, ang problema actually for everyone is how do you manage yung ganong klaseng expectations, no, about
Mhm.
trying to keep conflict, no, to a level where it doesn't actually escalate into something bigger, no, and therefore doesn't commit everyone, no, to something, or it's that concern about these kinds of developments actually getting out of hand, right? So
Mhm.
managing it is very important to everyone, I think. No,
Okay.
just to make sure that it doesn't actually become or slides, no, into an all-out conflict.
So even in the scenario where, let's say, Beijing resolves its economic crisis, even in the scenario where, let's say, Russia, uh, they win the war in Ukraine, and if Tehran, gets to continue enriching themselves with uranium, and nuclear, with their nuclear capacity, even in the scenario where those three things happen, you still think there's the probability of that axis, quote unquote, going against the Western alliance. You say that probability is still pretty low
Well,
because
let's put it this. Ako my take on it is that the effectiveness of that axis, if ever, no, in terms of challenging
yes.
the current world order, is actually political in nature, right? Not
Okay.
military,
Yes.
no.
Okay.
So the moment you start using military means, you're actually inviting the possibility that all of the things that you've invested, no, in terms of political, economic capacities, no, to challenge that current order, to advance your own interest, gets threatened, right? So I don't think that, no, whether we're talking about China, no, or Russia, no, or whoever else might be part of that axis, no, um, um, ang effectiveness niya, no, in terms of undermining, no, U.S. Dominance and influence, no, is really political, right?
Oo. Yes.
Hindi military. No, the moment you start using military force, no, you also undermine your own political position,
Oo.
right? So right now, there's an attractiveness to something like the BRICS, right? So that grouping, no, that was started by Russia with China, India, no, and Brazil and South
Brazil. Yep.
Africa, no, yung grouping na yon, no.
Oo.
There's interest in it. A number of countries are actually want to be part of it, no,
Mhm.
because they want to be able to um, somehow create more space, no, for autonomous activity, no, that can't be challenged or threatened by the United States and the kind of world order that it's actually put into place since the Second World War, right? So
Oo.
parang kaya nag-aano sila ng alternative, eh, di ba? Parang ganon yung nangyayari. So
Yes.
you think about that, no? That's all political, right? The moment
Mhm.
you actually start making the challenge, no, more overtly military, for instance, no, then
Mm.
you undermine your own ability to influence, to make your agenda more attractive, no, to other countries,
Okay.
right? So
Yes.
right now, I think China and Russia might try to push the envelope, no, as far as what they can do to try to undermine U.S. dominance, no,
Mhm.
current level of American dominance, no. Um, but doing it militarily, I think, works against their
Interest.
own interests, no.
Oo.
The best way for them to actually um, uh, change or to seek change, no, in the current order with the US as a dominant player, no, is actually through political means. And right now, I have to say, no, President Trump is giving them all the cards, right? The kind of relationship that he has with Europe right now, no, with Canada, no, with his allies here in
Yes. In
in the
Asia. Oo.
Indo-Pacific region, no, it's not making or it's not creating stronger confidence, no, in the kind of order that the United States has to offer, right?
Mhm.
And in fact, one gets the impression that everybody wants to retain that order, no,
Mhm.
but it's the United States with it's Donald Trump that wants to change it, right?
Yes.
So parang ang
Oo.
ano mo ngayon ay, okay, can we trust the Trump administration? No?
Yes.
So everything is in flux right now. So
Uh-huh.
kung tutuusin, if there's any danger to the current order, to the idea of de-escalating, no, tensions and issues right now, no, it's actually how the United States has been shaking up things,
Mhm.
right? The predictability of the previous the predictability of the pre-Trump,
Mm.
pre-MAGA
Oo.
US foreign policy, no, has now given way to something where, no, basically the United States seems to be lashing out against everybody, right?
Mm.
So you're not really too sure anymore, no? Business as well as states, no, like the idea of predictability in how they conduct the relations, no? Whether
Oo.
it's commercial or state to state, right?
Oo.
And the kind of uncertainty that's created by the foreign policy of the United States under Donald Trump, no, is not making anybody confident, no, about how things are actually going.
Hey there, thanks for watching the highlights of the Hey Eiyo podcast. If you enjoyed, why don't you like this video and subscribe to my channel? You may also watch the full episode by clicking the clip in the middle.